Ready? Hi everybody, this is Elizabeth Wallace with PixelatedGeek.com, and we are here at Free Comic Book Day at Villainous Lair, and we also are lucky enough to actually meet with John Barber of IDW. He writes the Transformers series, formerly Robots in Disguise. He's also the editor of Transformers More Than Meets the Eye and has written many other IDW books. How are you doing today?
I'm very good. Having a great Free Comic Book Day.
Excellent, cool. Now I've got to know, this is just a general question just for me. Out of all the Transformers that you've written for, which is probably the character that was the hardest to write for, the hardest to capture?
Oh, that's, I think Optimus Prime is really the hardest. You can sort of see that, like, if you go through the sort of the history of Transformers comics, there's a lot of people that kind of struggle with trying to get him right because he's he's kind of the ultimate good guy, and that can be a hard thing to write. And when he isn't that, he's sort of a character that works really well when he's in action, when he has a chance to kind of think about things. The self-doubt becomes a sort of freezing thing for him. I think that's been something you've seen a lot in the IDW comic. But he's, and I think if you're reading the comic right now, you're probably seeing that. But that's where we are right now. It's intentional. That's where he is, and he's kind of he's heading somewhere. But he is a tough character to write, like a surprisingly tough one.
Who would be the most fun to write?
That's been tricky. I'd say it's a three-way tie for me. I think between Prowl, Starscream, and RC. Those have been really the characters that I've really liked writing. Prowl's probably my favorite Transformer. He's the first toy I had when I was a kid. But I like that he's so Machiavellian and plotting things out. But he's basically good, but he doesn't care if people are hurt by him being good. Where Starscream is just somebody with no moral center whatsoever, who I think it can be really fun to write and really can be really funny and have some interesting. Some interesting observations about life.
That's actually a really good segue. So we're right in the middle of Combiner Wars right now, which goes back and forth between Transformers and the Windblade series. Now, it would be tough to sum up everything that's led up to Combiner Wars since they've been so important to Transformers. So to kind of make it easier, can you sum up what has happened to Prowl to bring him to where he is right now in the most recent issue?
Right. Well, Prowl, for about a year or so in the comic, had his mind taken over by a Decepticon bombshell, and nobody noticed. And I think when that ended, that's sort of if all of your friends don't know that you've become evil when you've become evil, I think that's going to set you on a certain path. Prowl basically is looking at a world where Starscream is in charge of Cybertron, where Megatron is an Autobot, and he thinks that's as crazy as he thinks that's as crazy as it sounds. That's not what he signed on for. So he's really trying to get things back to where he thinks they should be. The Autobots being Autobots and Decepticons being fought. But along the way, he's become merged as a combiner with the Constructicons. So he's sort of the head of Devastator. And that itself is causing a lot of problems, psychologically for Prowl. So he's maybe not making the best decisions all the time, but he's definitely planned them out.
So we have only 2 more issues of Combiner Wars. Can you give us a little tidbit of what we might see in the next few issues?
So the other thing that's happened is that Starscream has a space bridge that's linked to the lost colonies of Cybertron, one of which was the home planet of Windblade. So they're starting to form alliances with these other worlds, and while this Combiner War is sort of breaking out on Cybertron, I think that's where you're really going to see some I don't know what you'd say, some extra conflict coming in. I mean, right now Prowl's seemingly been neutralized, but there's a lot of other problems going on at the same time. Spoiler alert, sorry. There's a lot of other problems going on at the same time. So we'll get to see some of these other worlds, I think, coming up pretty soon.
One last question for you. After Combiner Wars is done, I believe we have a one-shot called Combiner Hunters coming up. So can you tell us a little bit of what we're going to see in that? Yeah,
I mean, it's from the point of view of the comics, it's essentially an epilogue to Combiner Wars that's going to be written by Marguerite Scott and drawn by, I'm going to butcher her last name, Sara Pitre-Durocher. She's fantastic. This is going to be her first comic, but she's been doing game art for the Transformers and a lot of packaging art. It actually some of the design work on this, and it's going to be a team up between Windblade, Chromia, and RC, and it'll introduce the next fan built Combiner character. It's going to be the first appearance of that character anywhere. There's going to be some action.
Excellent. We're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, I think that one of the things that I'm very excited about and people are really excited about is there's a lot more female Transformer characters and creators coming on there. And in a way, this is kind of a celebration of that. So I think it's fun. It's definitely integral to the story going on in the IDW universe. Margaret did a really great job on the story, and Sarah's been doing amazing on the art. So I think it's going to be very exciting.
Well, I've been a huge fan of all of the artists who've been working, but the writing is very, very important, and you guys have just been knocking it out of the park. Really something for the G1 fans who grew up with Transformers, and you guys are respecting them and loving them.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, when James Roberts, who writes More Than Meets the Eye, and I came together, we both kind of came from different places in Transformers, but I think we got somewhere that was sort of the two books have different feels, but they work well together. And I think when Marguerite came in on Windblade, like she really fits in really well in that. And I think we've got another limited series coming up that we haven't announced, and I think people are going to be really excited about what that is as well. So I'm really excited about where we're going in the future. And yeah, we do have amazing artists. Andrew Griffith on the Transformers book I work on, Livio on Combiner Wars. Corin Howell, who's coming on to Windblade, she's really amazing. And
Alex Milne.
Alex Milne, of course. I'm saving him for last.
Milne, we've been wondering how to pronounce that.
Yeah, Alex Milne. Then on the Free Comic Book Day comic, Priscilla Tramontano, longtime colorist, finally making her art debut. She's doing amazing on that too.
Thank you very much for talking with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for talking.
Thanks for watching, y'all.